Once I was in law school, I realized quickly it was about getting a job, but I felt a little bit depressed actually. A lot of people would describe that period of time as the most stressed out period of their lives.
What inspired you to pursue a law degree?
There wasn't a big plan. I think in law school there are two types of people. One, the people who want to practice law, who wanted to be a lawyer of some kind all their life, and the others are people who are figuring things out. Yeah, and I guess I definitely fell into the latter. I had been a cellist, a classically trained cellist from a young age. Started performing very young. Yeah, I went through the whole conservatory competitions route. Yeah, it had to do with a change from that kind of career track, and I was looking for a new way forward. And law school seemed to be an appropriate path.
But why the University of Toronto? Were you always in Toronto?
I went to high school in Toronto. I grew up in Korea, South Korea. I moved to Canada when I was 14. Then went to Boston for undergrad. And then I applied to some schools there and a couple schools in Canada. Toronto is where I grew up, where a lot of my early musical career started. And so I wanted to be close to that environment. The Faculty of Law is actually right next door to the Faculty of Music, where I spent quite a bit of time when I was younger in high school on weekends for orchestra rehearsals. And also there's the Royal Conservatory of Music. When I was in law school, I actually did keep up a pretty full, busy schedule, performing concerts and getting hired for some gigs. So I was hired by the conservatory to play some gigs there, because when they needed more cellists.
But how was the application process? Because right now, law school is pretty hard to apply. Did you meet the requirements of the LSAT and the high GPA standard? Like, how was that?
Oh, right. Yeah, I did. Hopefully I did, right? My GPA was good. And actually, one of the reasons why I chose law school is because it didn't have a prerequisite degree of a particular kind. You could have studied anything, practically anything, as long as it's a bachelor's degree. Yeah, and then you have to just take the LSAT. I did study for it, but yeah, and I did okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you excited about getting into law school?
I was excited. It was also a very nerve-wracking experience for me because it was a very last-minute decision. I was supposed to continue doing my master's at the same school, at my conservatory in Boston, maybe go to Europe. That's what I wanted to do. I kept up doing a lot of music even as I was going through law school. I couldn't just throw that away. Yeah, I loved it. So.
Then how was the life in law school? Was it like how you expected?
Quite different,
Oh,
actually. Really? Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like, I expected there to be lots of reading, lots of studying, and there definitely was that. But then, once I was in law school, I realized quickly it was about getting a job. You're finishing the first semester, people were applying for a summer job. So you'll get like the first semester grade, you're applying for summer jobs. So that kind of cycle starts very quickly. Part of that is an influence from the US system. But I felt a little bit depressed actually, because I mean there's not much social, activity going on. Depends on school too, but you have to law school. I don't think it's most. I don't know. It's a pretty small place. It's a huge commitment. It's a costly commitment. You've got to do well at every juncture, and there's a lot of pressure.
So was everyone stressed?
Yeah, a lot of people would describe that period of time as the most stressed out period of their lives. And also constant pressure in a small environment, and you see the same people everywhere. It becomes a little bit like high school. You compare too much with each other.
So how was the people there? Were they friendly?
So I was very unhappy while I was there, and I was busy. I had a full studio teaching like 6 students. And
about law or
each have lessons at home. Some adult students and some serious high school students. One of them ended up going to McGill. And I was doing a lot of gigs, so I was busy. And I also did work in advocacy. I did refugee, North Korean human rights, and North Korean refugee advocacy. That was a big part of my life, and it continued to be a big part of my life, even after law school. And I was working out every day. Fitness kept me sane, I guess, but not enough. I definitely was very unhappy However, the original question actually was what
how
the people were like, not what my life was like. But yeah, I mean, I met a couple of my best friends that I am still best friends with in law school. So I think that's very special. Yeah, and those friends are from Toronto and have stayed in Toronto. I moved around so much growing up. It means a lot to me to have these friends that like share memory with me. And I would say in general, a lot of them are thoughtful. And then there's various types of personalities. Some people were more interested in leadership, and some others were more interested in law as kind of a puzzle. I feel like mainly I was there to observe something that was so new and so different from what I had studied.
Did everyone pursue law after they graduated?
Not everyone, not everyone. It was a difficult time because I graduated in 2010. There was a huge economic crisis around then, right? The housing bubble burst, and lots of jobs in the U.S. That used to be available to UT law students, they weren't. It was not an easy time. Yeah, some of them, it took a while for them to find a job in an area they liked. Yeah, and then some others, like they do some things related to law, but not exactly like kind of conventional lawyer, like more like drafting legislation ideas and making reports and researching.
Okay, and what about you? What did you do after law school?
Yeah, so after law school, I continued my work with Advocacy for North Korean refugees and refugee human rights. Worked on a book, a memoir of a North Korean defector, a mom.
Is it published?
Yes. The name of the book is Stars Between the Sun and the Moon. It's a memoir by a North Korean defector in Canada, Lucia Chang, and co-written with by a journalist and writer named Susan McClelland. And in the U.S., it was published by W.W. Norton, and it's been published in a few other languages, like at least 4 more languages. It was the first memoir of a North Korean female defector, a mother, published in North America at least. We were able to present the book before the Committee on the Rights of Women and Children at the UN headquarters in New York, I believe in 2015. So yeah, so some of those activities I did continue, participated in making a documentary with CBC. I provided all the translations and I was there to support the production. Yeah, but that was like, none of that was paid work really. My paid work actually was, and I worked at a refugee law office.
Oh.
Yeah, so a refugee law office that I started to work at while I was in law school from first year. And I don't know, I connected with it a lot because I was already doing the advocacy work and some media work. I also did a little bit of journalism, worked as a stringer for an outlet called Radio Free Asia, based in DC, Washington DC, and reporting on the advocacy for North Korean human rights in Canada. The bulk of my refugee law career, refugee and immigration, but mainly was refugee for the first half. It ended up having a lot to do with North Koreans and also some South Koreans, people who were fleeing domestic violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like kind of change their lives?
I'm a musician, so I have a sensitive heart, I would say. My empathy provided me with great motivation to try and help others that I could see were in need of support. I think it's a very difficult kind of job because it's relentless. There's many people who require that kind of support. I felt that I didn't have any energy left at some point, so I decided to switch to more general immigration practice. Actually ended up working at a firm started by a friend I met in law school. Just started to kind of feel the lay of the land. I was interested in getting an overall understanding of refugee and immigration and citizenship law. Yeah, so I did that for about a decade.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Parts of it I enjoyed very much because I learned really new skills. Refugee law practice often is small scale because it's not like a business that's really focused on like business growth per se. I also had a little bit more time to do things like working as the consulting lawyer, consulting counsel for the South Korean embassy here.
But you said law school was stressful. Do you regret that? Would you do something different?
Yes, I definitely would do things differently. I would have started therapy way earlier because I only started like in the last month. In the last month, like of law school, as I was graduating.
You going to a therapist?
Yes, I started therapy. I should have started it earlier, I think. I wish I had been a little bit less scared of like medication. So taking better care of mental health like more proactively, but I just had such an inner block against it. I think it's so easy to feel isolated. Yes, law school is tough, but I think like undergrad is also tough and grad school is also tough. It's always, you have to be achieving something, and it's easy to look at yourself as just someone that's supposed to do these jobs.
So after you stopped doing law, what are you doing now?
Yes, I started a little bit of a journey for myself in mental health. And then I realized, yeah, as you get older, you do run out of steam a little bit. And in my case, it was crisis of meaning, a crisis of purpose, and also realizing like, okay, I'm just like not very healthy. This is not normal to like so many panic attacks or just be so depressed so often. And then it's kind of crazy because as a child performer, I was so used to just getting up there and do my job, like super shy and like, you know, like perform. Like I was ready, I was so used to just performing. Mm-hmm. And when you are on stage, you must forget yourself and just, you know, do your job, right? So the show must go on, basically. So I was so used to the show must go on, and then it did catch up with me at some point. I started to feel super burnt out by the time I was in my mid-30s. It just kind of started to weigh really heavily on me, and I decided to go into trauma therapy.
Are you studying it?
Like self-study wise, I did. Yeah, I've read some really good books like The Body Keeps the Score. Mm-hmm. It's a very well-known book now, and lots of material from Gabor Mate, who we're lucky to have in Canada. And there's a lot of just buried trauma that our body remembers, and certain shocking events, once you experience them, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like energy that gets stored inside your system, your nervous system. So those kinds of things, I got to look into that more. I applied for a fellowship designed by a program at Yale University's School of Medicine, Department of Psychiatry, for community mental health, addiction and mental health in Toronto. And I got to be part of this group from all over Canada. So as a result, I have started working on a collection of stories and a film project, a short film, where I will be playing my own music. I'm composing music and writing stories.
I see you have a scarf, a nice scarf around your neck. Where did you get that?
I made it myself.
Oh wow! How?
I designed it myself.
Oh really?
Actually,
it's really nice.
Thank you.
Aww.
It's actually during my mental health journey, it was recommended. Knitting was recommended as a grounding technique. I wanted to learn how to construct things, and I started designing my own knitwear.
Are you open to sell them?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, you can
okay.
buy my knitting patterns.
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you also have tutorials and stuff?
Yes. Yeah. My Instagram has tutorials that have feature techniques that are used in my designs. You can find me as Sue Tango's Knits, Sue double O, Tango, Dance Tangos.